You clearly awakened the crappiest F-class ability, Water Splash. The only thing it's good for is moistening the campus belle's lips every day. All your classmates mock you as a total loser, so when you're in a fight, they take it for granted to push you out as bait. But the very next second, you who were supposed to be bait start killing everyone left and right. It's all because you awakened the All Things Ascension System. It ascends the originally useless Water Splash into a super SSS-class ability, Wrath of the SeaGod. The strong wind carrying the stench of rotting rust pours into the abandoned steel mill. A palm shoves hard against my back from behind. I stumble 2 steps forward. Gravel tumbles under my feet. After I steady myself, I brush off the cuff of my faded school uniform. I lift my eyes to the dark, gaping entrance of the workshop ahead. Low, dense growls come from the darkness. At least a dozen exotic beasts are hiding in the shadows. Loser powers are only good for being bait. Jinkai's lazy taunt comes from behind me. This young master of the Jin family of Jiangzhou fidgets with his crimson staff. The flickering flame at the staff's tip lights up the vicious grin on his face. Pathfinder team, get in position. Keep your eyes wide open and watch carefully. This is what happens to low-class weaklings. Dozens of exam students stand far behind the safety line. There's sympathy in their eyes, and relief too. Relief that the unlucky schmuck pushed out here isn't them. So pathetic. F-class Water Splash is just a useless spitting ability. I heard he finished dead last at the awakening ceremony. Got thrown into the toddler class. The toddler class is basically a useless cannon fodder unit. He can only blame his bad luck for getting picked. All the whispers around me drift into my ears, but I completely ignore them. I pull a rusty coin out of my pants pocket. Its edges have long been polished shiny. I flip it up and catch it casually. My gaze isn't on that creepy workshop entrance at all. Instead, my gaze lands on the pale blue, translucent screen right in front of me. All Things Ascension System status. Activating. Current progress. 99%. It's been a whole month. Ever since I was rated F-class at the awakening ceremony. This screen has been stuck at the top right of my field of view. Every time someone mocks or humiliates me, the progress bar jumps forward a tiny bit. A month of cold stares and humiliation has forced this 99% progress to pile up. Just a little bit more to go. The corner of my mouth twitches up slightly without me noticing. Young Master Jin is right. The Gale Wolf Pack inside is all counting on Young Master Jin to show off his power. Jinkai narrows his eyes. He can't read the expression on my face right now. A discarded loser about to be pushed into a wolf den shouldn't have this kind of look on his face. It's way too calm. So calm it makes him feel uneasy. But this discomfort only lasted half a second, before it was completely swallowed up by overwhelming superiority. It's just an F-class loser, nothing more. A useless guy who can only squeeze out a few drops of water. No matter how calm he acts, he can't change the fact that he's gonna get crushed. Cut the crap, get your ass in there. Ding! Extreme contempt from Jinkai detected. Shock points plus 10. The number on the screen jumps slightly, but the 99% figure doesn't move at all. I frown slightly. 10 points added, but the progress bar doesn't react at all. I quickly glance at the line of small gray text at the bottom of the screen. Total shock points required for activation, 10,000. Current total, 9,910 points. Compared to the 10,000 point threshold, I still need 90 more points to activate it. Turns out I'm not 1 point short, I'm 90 points short. The progress bar only shows 99% because it rounds up the number. Adding the 10 points I just got, I now have 9,910 points. I need 90 more points to fill it up. Based on the past month's experience, contempt from regular people only gives 1 of 5 points. For a young master like Jinkai, even extreme contempt only gives 10 points to get the remaining 90 points just by being insulted. I'd have to take at least a dozen more insults. But what if I do something that really shocks everyone? I flip the coin in my hand again. I turn my gaze to the countless dark green wolf eyes deep in the workshop. A meaningful smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. Hurry up! What are you waiting for? His goon shoves me hard again. I don't resist this time. I step into the workshop with the force of the shove. My footsteps make cold echoes across the empty ruins. A few streaks of pale white daylight leak through the broken dome overhead. They light up the crisscrossed rusty iron rails on the ground. The air is filled with a strange stench. Low growls press in from all directions. Pairs of bright green wolf eyes light up in the shadows. Tier 1 exotic beast. Gale Wolf. A single one isn't hard to deal with. But when the pack works together, even a solo Tier 2 awakened person would get seriously hurt. Jin Kai and his goons circle around to a high point from the side. He slams his staff into the ground. Flames burst up, lighting up the entire area of broken walls and ruins. They're all coming this way. Jin Kai smiles in satisfaction and glances at me, who's now locked on by the wolf pack. Don't be scared. Just stay right there and don't move. Just do your job as the bait. Leave the rest to me. Thanks a lot, young Master Jin. I lean against the cold iron wall. My tone sounds totally sincere. The first Gale Wolf makes a move. The gray shadow bursts into speed instantly, wrapped in a layer of pale green wind blades. It dives straight for my throat. Its speed is unbelievably fast. I don't run away, nor do I lift my hand to fight back. I just tilt my head slightly. My gaze passes over the lunging wolf shadow and lands on a dark corner far away. An extremely hidden aura fluctuation is hiding there. It's not a mutant beast, it's a human, and they're very strong. I shift my attention back to what's in front of me. The wolf's claw is only 10 centimeters away from my throat. I lift my right index finger gently. A tiny, glistening water drop forms at my fingertip. It's totally insignificant. F rank ability, Water Splash. The water drop shoots out silently, as fast as lightning. It hits the tear gland of the Gale Wolf's right eye precisely. The wolf's head jerks to the side. The physical stinging pain makes it veer off course. Its head slams hard into the shovel behind me. A dull thud echoes. It passes out on the spot. The whole thing takes less than a second. The hidden aura in the dark fluctuates violently for a moment. My hearing is extremely sharp. I don't turn around. A tiny, undetectable smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. The numbers on the panel flicker quietly. Ding! Mild surprise detected from an unknown observer. Shock points +5. Current total, 9,915 points. 85 points short of 10,000 points. Not enough, far from enough. But that's okay. I look across at Jin Kai, who's playing with fire and having the time of his life. The real show has only just begun. By now, Jin Kai has defeated the third Gale Wolf. He glances back at me, still standing obediently by the wall. A sinister glint flashes across his eyes. He lowers his voice and whispers to the subordinate next to him. The subordinate nods. He takes out a sealed small bottle from his pocket. A skull mark is engraved on the bottle. Beast-attracting powder, a prohibited item that lures high-rank mutant beasts. Jin Kai licks his lips. His gaze is fixed firmly on me. What he wants is far more than just making me a scapegoat. What he really wants is that coin. The rusty coin left by Jiang Chen's parents. The Jin family's intelligence network already found out long ago. That coin contains a strand of extremely weird energy fluctuation. Why should an F-rank trash hog such a treasure? He might as well disappear from this world right now. Jin Kai gives his subordinate a look. The subordinate gets the hint and sneaks behind me silently. I, meanwhile, still lean against the iron wall, tossing that coin casually. The coin spins in the air, drawing an arc. Its rusty surface against the glow of the fire faintly glows with a wisp of blue light that's not from rust. It vanishes in the blink of an eye. No one notices it at all. The flames swallow the last Gale Wolf. Jin Kai retracts his hand stylishly. His subordinates immediately crowd around to flatter him. Young Master Jin is so awesome. A-rank flame ability is really as powerful as they say. This is what a real genius looks like. Unlike some people who only deserves to cower in the corner trembling. The speaker deliberately throws a mocking look my way. I'm squatting next to the passed-out Gale Wolf, poking its ear curiously like I'm playing. Jin Kai puts on a concerned look. He walks over slowly. Jiang Chen, you weren't scared just now, were you? That wolf lunged at you so fast. I didn't have time to block it. You didn't get hurt, did you? I'm fine, young Master Jin. I stand up and pat the dust off my knees. That wolf was running too fast on its own. It hit the wall and passed out. Maybe its eyesight is bad. It couldn't stop in time. It knocked itself out. This kid's luck is actually pretty good. Jin Kai doesn't respond. He doesn't care at all. It's just a measly first-rank Gale Wolf. Even if I got lucky and dodged it, what difference does that make? The real deadly trick is still coming up. Jin Kai lowers his voice to order his subordinates. All right, guys, rest for 5 minutes, then we're charging into the core area. While he's speaking, a subordinate has already circled behind me. His fingers grip the cork of the porcelain bottle. He twists it open silently. A colorless, odorless powder falls quietly. It sticks precisely to the inside of my school uniform's back collar. Beast-attracting powder is colorless and odorless, but I still catch a whiff of an extremely faint, fishy sweet scent. It smells like a mix of stale energy, the odor given off by mineral residues. I glanced out of the corner of my eye at the henchman's retracting hand, then glanced at Jinkai's fake, concerned face. I knew exactly what was going on. Crystal clear. The current number is quietly displayed on the panel. Regular casual contact barely adds any points anymore. But what if what happens next is dramatic enough? I didn't say a word about it. I didn't call anyone out. I just obediently followed the group toward the core area. I put on just the right amount of nervousness and timidity. My acting was absolutely perfect. In the shadows, Leng Qingshui squatted on a beam 30 meters away. Her black tactical trench coat swayed gently in the wind. She's an examiner secretly sent by the military. That trick I did earlier, flicking a water drop to blind the wolf. She saw every second of it. Interesting. Leng Qingshui thought to herself, but that's as far as it goes. She cared more about what Jin Kai was up to. She recognized the scent of hidden beast powder, a military-banned substance in a student assessment. That alone is enough to get the Jin family in a whole lot of trouble. But she didn't rush to stop it. She wanted to see how far Jin Kai was willing to go and what choice I'd make when I was cornered. Break down and beg for help, or give her some other totally unexpected answer. The space deep inside the core area factory suddenly opened up. Horrifyingly huge claw marks were scored across the ground. No wolf could possibly have made these. The claw marks are over 1/2 meter wide. The steel edges are torn and curled outwards. As flimsy as tin foil, the henchmen's faces went white with fear. Young Master Jinkai, these claw marks must be from a tier 2 or higher exotic beast, right? What's there to be scared of? At most, there's a few stray tier 2 trash beasts. I can take care of them all by myself. As he said this, he deliberately glanced at the collar on the back of my shirt. The beast lure powder takes 15 minutes to kick in. Soon my scent will act like a flare and draw every exotic beast within 3 lie here. Then in the chaos, 1 dead F-grade loser. Who's gonna care about that? Jin Kai was counting the time in his head. The smile on his face got more and more relaxed. Little did he know, I was way ahead of him in planning. It's been 7 minutes. No tier 2 exotic beasts have shown up yet. There's only 2 possibilities. 1, there really are no tier 2 exotic beasts in this area. 2, there's a higher tier apex predator here. Tier 2 beasts wouldn't dare step foot in its territory. I glanced at the 1/2 meter wide claw marks on the ground, then looked up at the jagged holes in the dome. Those aren't shapes made by natural collapse. Something crashed straight through the roof from outside and got into this space, and has been holed up here ever since. My heart rate is steady at 62 beats per minute. The ground started to shake, super faint, so low frequency you can barely feel it. Like a huge heart buried underground is beating. The henchmen haven't noticed yet. Jin Kai is still joking with the others, but I already felt the tremors. It's not coming from far away. It's right under our feet. I looked down at the dark gap between the 2 train tracks. 2 dark red vicious glows lit up in the dark, like 2 red-hot iron balls. Those are eyes. I lifted my head and said in a flat tone, "Young Master Jin, I think you use too much of that stuff." Jin Kai's face dropped instantly. The steel floor exploded with a loud bang. A huge gash tore open in the center of the floor. Rocks and broken track pieces were blown into the air by the blast. A gray giant beast the size of a small van burst violently out of the underground crack. Tier 2 exotic beasts, ironclad lizards, followed right behind. A second, then a third. In just 5 seconds, 12 ironclad lizards had burrowed out of the ground. All of them were staring straight at me, or more accurately at my collar, where the beast lure powder scent was coming from. The henchmen were scared out of their wits. They scrambled backwards as fast as they could. Jin Kai's face was as white as paper in the firelight. He'd only expected to lure 3 or 5 tier 2 beasts, just enough to kill me in the chaos, but 12? This wasn't a situation where you could kill someone and get away with it. This was an impossible, deadly mess. Everyone retreat. Jin Kai screamed at the top of his lungs. He slammed his staff into the ground. A wall of fire shot up from the ground, temporarily blocking the rhino herd's charge path. Move. He turned and ran, looking back after a few steps. Hold on. I'll get help. That was a pretty good performance. But he didn't slow down at all. I stood there alone, watching as Jin Kai and his group's figures disappeared deep into the passage. There was no expression on my face. I didn't run away. What I need is shock points. I need a super stunning performance. The audience is on the steel beam 30 meters away. That hidden presence is still there. And with the appearance of the rhino herd, The fluctuation frequency of that presence is obviously speeding up. The other party is nervous, hesitating whether to take action. That's enough. I flexed my fingers and quickly scanned the surrounding terrain. Rusty railway tracks, collapsed support columns, half-collapsed dome. The track surface is covered with years-old rust. The friction coefficient is extremely low. The support columns have been made wobbly by the vibrations when the rhino herd burst out of the ground. The hole in the dome is right above and slightly left of the rhino herd. Rubble can fall at any time. Specifications of F-class water splash. Maximum condensation capacity is around 200 ml of water. Fighting 12 armored rhinos head-on wouldn't even tickle them. But I never planned to fight head-on. The firewall went out. All 12 armored rhinos charged at the same time, their hooves shattering the ground, rushing straight to run me over. I opened my eyes. I didn't step back. Instead, I took a step to the right and stepped precisely onto a fallen steel frame beam. Then I started running. Not running away, I ran along the steel beam towards the track area on the side of the rhino herd. I picked an extremely tricky route. Every step landed in the blind spot at the edge of the rhino's vision. I reached the track area in 3 seconds. I raised both hands at the same time. Water droplets seeped from the tips of all 10 fingers at once. All my ability reserves poured out at this moment. I didn't shoot them. I spread them. The droplets turned into a thin water film, which accurately covered the surface of 3 sections of track that the rhino herd must pass. It was a thin layer, almost invisible, but it was enough. The hoof of the first armored rhino stepped onto the track covered with the water film. The already rusty and smooth track surface, under the effect of the water film, had a friction coefficient close to 0. The 3-ton armored lizard was charging at full speed when it suddenly lost traction. Its body suddenly tipped to the side. Its huge inertia made it like an out-of-control cannonball, slamming straight into the nearby, wobbly support column. The support column broke from the bottom. The dome steel beam connected to the column top collapsed along with it. Tons of steel fragments fell from high altitude, hitting the second following rhino directly. The third armored rhino triggered a chain reaction. The fourth rhino stepped on the second section of water film. The fifth and sixth rhinos followed right behind. They crashed into a pile. The remaining rhinos were blocked by the huge bodies of their companions. The sound of shells colliding boomed in the factory. The group charge of 12-second tier armored rhinos was foiled by only 200 ml of water. On the steel beam in the dark, Lang Qingshui had already straightened up. Her fingers on the knife hilt turned white from gripping too hard. Her lips were slightly parted. Her pupils constricted to the limit. I pulled this off with F-class water splash. This wasn't a fight. It was total sweeping level battlefield control. The emotion that surged up at that moment wasn't mild surprise. It was huge, uncontrollable shock. The numbers on the panel jumped wildly. Ding! Extreme shock from unknown observer detected. Shock points plus 80. Current total, 9995 points. 5 points short of 10,000 points. Then, I heard the sound of footsteps. Shinkai ran back, not because he had a change of heart, but because that passage was blocked by another group of gale wolves that smelled the beast-luring powder. He was caught between two sides, with no way to escape. He could only turn back. Jainka rushed into the core area. The scene he saw made his brain short-circuit. 12 armored rhinos were lying all over the place, piled up like a heap of scrap iron, and I was standing in the middle completely unharmed, flipping and catching a rusty coin. I looked over and met Jin Kai's eyes. Young Master Jin, where's your backup? I said with a smile. Jin Kai's lips trembled violently. His brain refused to process the information in front of him. How did you... Before he finished speaking, the ground under his feet shook again. This time it didn't come from far away. The vibration source was directly below, beneath the piled remains of 12 ironclad lizards, far deeper underground. A suffocating scarlet, evil aura gushed out of the ground cracks. The last intact piece of the dome's ceiling slab was smashed from inside by a huge scarlet palm. Shards rained down into the dust and smoke. A huge black shadow dropped through the dome hole and slammed hard on the ground, making everyone slip on their feet. It was 5 meters tall, covered all over with rough, dark red skin. Its scarlet eyes had no pupils and carried no pure malice. Peak Tier 3, Lord-class exotic beast, bloodthirsty demonic ape. Jinkai's staff slipped from his hand. He didn't even have the strength to bend down to pick it up. The demonic ape lowered its head, its scarlet eyes sweeping across the whole field. Then it reached out a hand and grabbed the nearest henchman. There was no time to scream. Its fingers closed tight. Golden light mist exploded. Jinkai finally found his voice again. It was a distorted, high-pitched scream. I stood 15 meters away, looking up at this 5-meter-tall monster. The numbers on the panel blinked quietly. Current shock value, 9,995 out of 10,000. 5 points remaining. My heart rate was still 62 beats per minute. A coin spun between my fingertips. A faint blue light flashed by. The demonic ape's gaze locked on me. It didn't give anyone time to react. It picked up the second henchman and slammed him on the rail. 2 steel rails broke, the body turning blurry and unrecognizable. The remaining 2 henchmen finally broke down and turned to run. The demonic ape tilted its head and picked the one on the left. It covered 15 meters in one step. Its giant palm fell down, creating a 2-meter-deep crater on the ground. It turned around, its scarlet eyes fixed on Jinkai. Jinkai's teeth were chattering. The flame on his staff shook even harder than his hand. He knew running was useless. I'm A-class. I'm the heir of the Jin family. Jinkai roared loudly, holding his staff high above his head. All his spiritual power poured madly into the staff. A 2-meter diameter flaming torrent slammed straight into the demonic ape's chest. The dust and smoke cleared. The demonic ape stood still on the spot. The dark red skin on its chest didn't even darken a little bit. It glanced down at its own chest, then looked up at Jinkai, its expression practically saying, "That's it." Jinkai's pupils shrank sharply. The demonic ape lifted its foot and stomped down. The staff shattered, along with Jinkai's right hand holding it, sank into the ground. Jinkai screamed and fell to the ground, twitching all over his body. Some warm liquid spread down his pant leg. A strong stench of urine filled the air. The demonic ape lifted its other hand and reached for Jinkai's head. At this exact moment, an ice blue light shot out from a steel beam. 30 meters away, Leng Qingshu jumped out of her hiding spot. Her black wind coat fluttered in the air. She held a high-frequency oscillation blade in each hand and struck with full force at the spine on the demonic ape's back. S-class ability, Frigid Slash. The moment the blade touched its skin, a layer of frost formed on the demonic ape's back, and then it stopped. Leng Qingshu felt a terrifying recoil force. A sharp pain shot through her tiger's mouth. Golden energy slid down the blade hilt. The full-force strike of 2 S-class high-frequency oscillation blades on the back of a peak Tier 3 lord only left a faint, almost invisible white mark. The demonic ape turned its head and swung its arm horizontally. Leng Qingshui crossed her blades to block. A dull thud rang out. She was sent flying backwards. Her back slamming hard on the furnace remains 30 meters away. She slid down from the dent and fell on her knees. She stuck both blades into the ground. To barely hold herself up, blood kept trickling from the corner of her mouth. The military's S-class elite was badly wounded in one hit. Despair filled everyone's chest like molten iron. The demonic ape turned back to its first locked target. I was still standing 15 meters away, with my back against the iron wall. The coin in my hand flipped between my fingertips. Heart rate 62. The numbers on the panel glowed quietly. Current shock value, 9,995 out of 10. 0.5 points remaining. I lifted my head, my gaze passing over the demonic ape, towards Leng Qingshui, who was kneeling far away. There was something in her ice blue eyes, a feeling I'm really familiar with. It's not fear, it's reluctance to accept defeat. It's that pure despair when you try your best, but still can't change a single thing. Pain. The demon ape already took a step toward me. Put the coin away. Brushed the dust off my school uniform. Don't rush. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut through extremely clearly. All the leftover noise and wails. Then I stepped out from behind the iron wall, toward the demon abyss. Leng Qingshui's pupils suddenly dilated. An F-class. Actively walked up to a peak level 3 lord. At that moment, all the training she had, all the common sense she knew, all her battlefield experience, couldn't explain what was happening right in front of her. Her heart skipped a beat in her chest, then started pounding wildly. The last number on the panel flickered. Ding. Extreme despair detected from Leng Qingshui. Shock value increased by 50. Current total, 10,045. Activation requirements have been met. All Things Sublimation System officially activated. A light blue panel burst into golden light right before your eyes. The second the golden light exploded from the panel, my vision was completely swallowed up. All Things Sublimation System officially activated. Host's current ability, F-class Splash. Available sublimation attempts 1. Do you want to spend 1,000 shock points to sublimate the F-class ability splash? I didn't hesitate. The second I decided to sublimate, the line of gray text for F-class splash on the panel started trembling violently. The old text shattered. Sublimation successful. Congratulations, host, you've obtained the unique super SSS-class ability Wrath of the SeaGod. Ability description. Control the source of all water. Wield the power of the SeaGod. Water is the first element of heaven and earth. Can be used for attack and defense. Can take any form. No range limit. No power cap. Current remaining shock points, 9,045. The golden light faded. I saw the real world again. Less than half a second had passed. The demon ape was taking its second step toward me. Its huge foot landed on the railroad track. Its giant palm was already coming down on me. The shadow completely covered my whole body. I didn't run. I looked up. The demon ape clearly saw the change in my eyes. The originally dark pupil started from the center, to be eroded by a deep blue color. It was the color of the sea. I spoke up. My voice wasn't loud. That's not how you use water. I snapped my fingers. My right index and middle fingers tapped together, making a tiny crisp sound. Then the whole world went quiet, literally silent. All sounds within a 100-meter radius disappeared at the exact same time. Water took the place of sound. Every drop of water left in the Chi Steel factory ruins, in the pores of rust in the ground cracks, and in the crevices. All free water molecules in the air received the order at the exact same moment. They moved, gathering from all directions. The ground beneath my feet started to spread out ring after ring of blue patterns outward, like ripples, like some ancient formation array. The demon ape's giant palm was still 2 meters above my head. It slammed down with full force the second the palm wind hit. A 10-meter diameter aqua blue light pillar rose from the blue patterns under my feet into the sky. No warning. No charging up. The inside of the pillar was fast-spinning seawater. The demon ape's giant palm hit the water pillar. It stopped, not a gradual slowdown, but an abrupt stop from full speed to zero. The high-speed water cut a shallow gash on the demon ape's palm. Golden liquid flowed out. In the demon ape's bright red eyes, confusion appeared for the first time. This human kid, barely bigger than an ant, cut a wound on its palm with water. The demon ape waved its hand trying to swat the water pillar away. The water pillar reformed a few milliseconds after being scattered. Liquid has no fixed shape. There's no point in breaking it apart. It will reassemble right away. Your turn is over. My voice came from the center of the water droplets. Now it's my turn. I lifted my right hand, fingers slightly spread apart. The sky through the hole in the dome above changed color. The grayish-white sky was swallowed within 3 seconds by a thick layer of dark blue cumulonimbus clouds. The clouds spun faster and faster, forming a huge whirlpool. What poured in through the dome hole was no longer grayish-white skylight, it was water. Towering billows fell from the sky. They split and reformed mid-air, turning into a giant palm. A palm made entirely of water. It crashed down from above. Precise and unstoppable, it firmly grabbed the bloodthirsty ape by the neck. The 5-meter-tall ape was trapped on the spot by the giant water palm. It flailed its arms wildly, frantically tearing at the water palm, managing to rip a gap every single time. But the gap was refilled by new water in 0.1 seconds. Water has no weaknesses, because water has no fixed form, so you can't shatter it at all. My blue eyes stared at the trapped ape. The numbers on the panel were going crazy. Ding! Detected super shock from Leng Qing Sui. Shock value plus 200. Ding! Detected extreme fear and cognitive breakdown from Jin Kai. Shock value plus 150. Ding! Detected an unknown underling's mental. Collapse! Shock value plus 180. Ding! Detected that behind remote observation devices, multiple observers were collectively shocked. Shock value plus 500. Current shock value balance, 9,975 points. The numbers are still jumping. The ape's struggling strength was fading. It wasn't because it gave up. It was because the water palm's grip kept getting tighter. But it hadn't lost its vitality yet. The vitality of a peak 3rd-tier spirit lord is way stronger than anything I've fought and dealt with before. We have to take it slow. The ape didn't give up struggling. It opened its big mouth and spat out a streak of crimson ki blast. Evil chi shockwave. The QE blast hit the giant water palm head-on. A 3-meter-wide hole exploded on the water surface, but the hole only lasted less than 0.2 seconds. The surrounding water quickly filled it back up. I tilted my head to the side. and noticed a small detail. Right when the ape spat out the evil chi shockwave, the dark red skin on its neck faded from deep red to light red. It's using its core power to attack. Enough! I dropped my casual expression. There's no point dragging this on. Every extra second makes Leng Qingshu's injury worse. Disintegrate. Only 2 words. The giant water palm responded to this command. It wasn't tightening, no. It wasn't squeezing, it was splitting apart. Within 1 second, the giant palm broke apart into tens of thousands of tiny water streams. Each one was only as thick as a finger, but they spun so fast you couldn't track them with your eyes. High-pressure water knives, over 10,000 high-pressure water streams, started disintegrating it from all angles at the same time. The ape's dark red skin, that even Leng Qingshui's S-tier extreme ice slash could only leave white marks on, that Class A defense, was cut 3 millimeters deep when the first wave of water streams swept past. Second wave, 7 millimeters. Third wave cut into the muscle layer. The ape let out a real bone-chilling scream. It struggled with all its might. But the water streams aren't solid. Punching can't destroy anything at all. Fists pass right through the water streams. The streams split the second the fist goes through, and close back up immediately after, and keep cutting. Snap! The ape's right arm fell off at the shoulder joint. It wasn't chopped off. It was cut by tens of thousands of water streams at the same time. It was as precise as a surgical operation. The ape's scream changed pitch. All that was left was fear of death. 5 seconds later, the water streams finished their final attack wave. I released my right hand. The moment my 5 fingers closed together, all the water streams constricted at the same time. Then they exploded. Golden light rain filled the sky. The peak 3rd-tier Lord level, bloodthirsty ape was disintegrated into countless light spots. The golden light rain was 10 centimeters away from my body. When it automatically deflected, it went around me and landed on the ground behind me. My school uniform was so clean it was blinding. The core fell silent. Dead silent. A fist-sized dark red crystal fell from the sky and landed on the ground in front of me. I squatted down and picked up the crystal core. I stuffed it in my pocket next to the rusty coin. Then I stood up. I turned around and looked at Jin Kai. He was slumped on the ground. Fragments of his staff were still stuck in the muscle of his right hand. His eyes were wide open. His pupils shrank to the size of pinpricks. I walked over. No dust on my school uniform. No sweat on my face. I squatted down to look Jin Kai at eye level. Young Master Jin. Jin Kai's teeth were chattering even harder. Beast attracting powder? Nice. Next time remember to keep a bottle of antidote for yourself. What if you can't get away? Hallucination. This is totally a hallucination. F-rank? Your F-rank water splash ability, how is that possible? He lifted his uninjured left hand, slapped himself hard across the face. The sharp slap echoed across the empty lot. This isn't a dream. I stared at him for 2 seconds, then stood up. Stop hitting yourself, your face will swell up. After saying that, I stopped looking at Jin Kai, turned around and walked towards Leng Qingshui. The shock value on the panel was still jumping. Detected total collapse of Jin Kai's cognitive system. Shock value plus 300. Leng Qingshui was still in a kneeling position on one knee. 2 vibrating blades were stuck in the ground. They were her only support. Her breathing was short and shallow, but her eyes were bright. Her ice-blue eyes were fixed on the person walking towards her. There were too many emotions in them. Shock, confusion, scrutiny. Your ability? It's not F-rank. She spoke, her voice hoarse. I stopped 3 steps in front of her. It was 10 minutes ago. Leng Qingshui was silent for a moment. She had 100 questions she wanted to ask, but her training told her this wasn't the time for interrogation. How much longer can you keep that ability up? She asked the most critical question. My stored ability power just now was depleted by about 30% during the fight. It's enough. Leng Qingshui nodded. Then she made a decision. She felt inside the inner pocket of her windbreaker and pulled out a compact communicator. Pressed the red button. Calling emergency channel. This is Leng Qingshui, ID number S017. Her voice returned to the crisp tone of a soldier. Abandoned steel mill assessment zone, eastern suburbs of Jiangzhou. S-rank or higher emergency incident occurred. Peak tier 3. Lord rank bloodthirsty demon ape has been defeated. I am wounded. There are injured students on site. There was 3 seconds of silence on the other end of the communicator. Then the voice of a middle-aged man came low and strained. The peak tier 3 lord was defeated. Leng Qingshui, do you confirm that? Confirmed. Did you defeat it? Leng Qingshu glanced at me. I was squatting on the ground, pulled that rusty coin out of my pants pocket, flipping it around for fun. The core area after the golden light spread was a total mess, and I was squatting right in the middle of it all, completely clean. Looking bored. It wasn't me. Leng Qingshui said. Then who was it? The victor is a student taking the practical assessment. Leng Qingshui cut him off. Her voice was flat. Registered awakened ability rank, F rank. There was 5 seconds of silence on the other end of the communicator. Then a sharp shattering sound was heard. A teacup broke. Monitoring Center, B3 Eastern Suburbs Branch, Jiangzhou Military Region. 24 HD screens were embedded in the wall. Screen 7 corresponds to the abandoned steel mill area. Right now, 11 people were gathered in front of that screen, including the branch's top commander, Major General Yue Zhenshan. The old man was 62 years old, thin and gaunt, wearing a gray service uniform. The teacup in his left hand was in his grasp half a minute ago. Now shards of porcelain were scattered across the floor. Everyone's eyes were fixed on screen 7. The footage on the screen had been pulled up for replay, starting from the moment the demon ape appeared, to the giant water palm appearing out of thin air. Water string attacks, golden light flying everywhere. Every frame was slowed down and replayed 3 times. The energy detection data bar on the right of the screen, the moment the demon ape was defeated, turned into a sea of red exclamation marks. The voice of Fang Yun, head of the tech team, was a little unsteady. The readings are off the charts. We installed Type 7 energy detectors. Their maximum range corresponds to SS rank. It didn't just hit the max today. It completely overflowed. The reading is at least 40% higher than the SS rank maximum range. No one in the monitoring center said a word. Yue Zhenshan stared at the screen, at the teenager in the school uniform. The replay footage froze at the moment the battle ended. Squatting in the center of the core area after the golden light spread, flipping a coin, pull up his file, Yue Zhenshan said. 30 seconds later, his school record was projected onto the main screen. Name, Jiang Chen. Age, 17. Awakening rank, F. Ability, water splash. Notes, none. Suspiciously spotless record. Yue Zhenshan looked away from the file and shifted his gaze back to the replay footage. On screen, a giant water palm descended from the sky. The teacher said that scene had the beauty of classical murals. It's way above SSS rank. Fang Yun double-checked his data again. General Yue, as far as I know, across the entire Huaxia Federation, there are only 3 registered SS rank awakened so far. In theoretical papers about ranks above SS, there's a term called mythic rank. But that concept has only existed in papers for 20 years. Well, now we have a real one. He bent down to pick up a broken teacup shard from the floor. Fang Yun, raise the encryption level of this footage to maximum. Everyone present here, from this second onward, everything you saw today is top secret. Disclosing it to any unauthorized personnel will be punished under military law. Yes, sir. 10 people replied in unison. Yue Zhenshan straightened up. Comms team, connect to Leng Qingshui's channel. Qingshui, General Yue, where is that student right now? He's right next to me. There was a short pause. He's flipping over the armored lizards. Yue Zhenshan was stunned for a second. He knocked those armored lizards over with his water fiend attack earlier. They're stacked in a pile. A few are trapped under the pile. They can't flip themselves over. He's helping them turn right side up. There was something weird in Leng Qingshui's tone. It wasn't sarcasm. It was more like absurdity she couldn't wrap her head around. Wei Zhenshan didn't press further about flipping the armored rhinos. Leng Qingshui, how are your injuries? 3 of my ribs are badly fractured. I have a contusion on my left lung. I can hold on. Backup and medics are already on their way. They'll arrive in 6 minutes. Listen carefully before backup arrives. Don't do anything to that student. That could be seen as threatening, verbal or physical. No interrogation. Don't restrict his freedom of movement. Understood? One more thing. The thing about Jin Kai using beast luring powder during the assessment. You saw that, right? I saw the whole process. Good. Preserve all evidence. Communication ended. Yue Zhenshan stood in the middle of the monitoring center, staring at the frozen figure on screen 7. The staff officer beside him asked tentatively, General Yue, how should we handle this student? The word handle made Yue Zhenshan frown. Handle what? He retorted. A 17-year-old kid was placed in the beginner class and pushed out as cannon fodder. His classmate laced his clothes with beast luring powder, planning to take the chance to kill him. In this situation, he unleashed his hidden awakened power. And you're talking to me about safety risk ratings. The staff officer shut up immediately. Yue Zhenshan walked over to the communication console and picked up the microphone himself. He paused for a moment. Connect me to the Jiangzhou Awakened Administration Bureau. Then connect to the Federal Army branch. Finally, get me the Dean of Third Awakening Academy, the one who assigned the student to the beginner class. His tone was very calm, but the temperature in the monitoring center dropped another 2 degrees. Core area of the abandoned steel mill. You were indeed helping the armored rhinos flip over. 12 level 2 armored rhinos were so docile in front of you that Leng Qingsui thought she was hallucinating. You used a stream of water to hold the waist of the top rhino and flipped it over gently, so all 4 of its hooves touched the ground. The rhino shook its body after landing, then lowered its head to nudge your hand. Stop nudging, your drool is more than my water splash. The rhino nudged again. You pushed the rhino's head away. The wind in the core area stopped for a few seconds, then started blowing again, carrying the remaining energy fluctuations in all directions. I twirled the Lord Crystal Core twice in my palm, then stuffed it back into my pants pocket. My gaze swept across the entire ruins. The only other alive person was Xiaojin, huddled behind the furnace, shaking like he was being electrocuted. Then there was Jin Kai. He was leaning against a broken pillar. His mental state was almost completely shattered, but he was still alive. I walked over to him at a slow pace. Gravel crunched softly under my shoes. In the empty factory area, each sound traveled very far. 2 meters, 1.5 meters. I squatted down. At this distance, the mixed stench of urine and sweat hit me right in the face. I didn't frown. Jin Kai's teeth started chattering. I ask, you answer? If you answer well, this whole thing is over. The word over slammed into his shattered, muddled brain. His survival instinct grabbed it immediately. Okay, you can ask me anything. Beast attracting powder? Who came up with this idea? My second uncle. Jin Kai didn't hesitate for a single second. Jin Yuanting from the Jin family's second branch. He told me to get rid of you during the assessment. The reason is that coin you have. Jin Kai's gaze flicked past my pants pocket, then snapped back right away, like he'd just been burned. My second uncle said, the coin holds an energy signature he's never seen before. It's worth more than all the output of a Class A secret realm. I rubbed the rusty surface of the coin with my right hand in my pocket. A Class A secret realm has a starting value of 15 billion. No wonder they couldn't sit still. Who else knows about this? Just my second uncle and me. He said we can't tell the family head. And we definitely can't let the old master find out. Otherwise, they'll take it for themselves. I'd asked all the questions I needed to. Jin Kai stared at my expression, desperately, searching for your response on my face. I was satisfied. The signal that he could live? He found it, or at least he thought he did. I twitched the corner of my mouth slightly. The small smile looked pretty gentle. Brother Chen, I told you everything. Please let me go. I'll help you deal with my second uncle. I can even get you the Jin family's resources. I lifted my right hand. No water formed on this hand. I spread all 5 fingers out and placed it lightly on the top of his head. The pressure was very soft. Everything you just said. I've remembered all of it. My voice was softer than my hand. It's pretty useful, thanks. Jin Kai was confused by that thanks, but he never got to say what he was going to say next. The pad of my right index finger pressed against the skin behind Jin Kai's ear, one of the weakest spots on the human head. I twisted out a thin stream of water. It was 0.08 millimeters in diameter, thinner than the finest human hair. The water stream penetrated the core and destroyed his vital organs. Jin Kai's pupils froze. At that final confused focal point, his mouth was stuck half open. His body didn't fall over. The pillar and railroad tracks propped up his lifeless body. It looked just like he was still alive. The whole process took less than half a second. I pulled my hand back. I flicked my thumb. The water drop on my fingertip fell into the gravel crack. Now it was time to cover my tracks. I bent down and picked up a piece of knuckle-sized dark red energy shard from the ground. I stuffed it into the laceration above Jin Kai's right temple. That cut was made when the demon source burst out of the ground and hit by flying gravel. After the energy shard was embedded, it sat at a 20-degree angle, higher outside and lower inside. The blood pattern perfectly matched the trajectory of a high-speed shard blown by an explosion's shockwave. Cause of death is clear. Trajectory checks out. Physical evidence is sufficient and valid. I walked behind the furnace. Xiao Jian had curled himself up into a tight ball. His hands were covering his head. Every muscle in his body was spasming. Hey, Xiao Jian jumped violently, One bloodshot eye peeked out between his arms. "I'm not gonna hurt you." I squatted down. When rescuers come to ask questions later, you just tell the truth. We ran into a Class 3 exotic beast during the assessment. Officer Leng Qingshui worked with you guys to hold it off for a while. I hid in the corner and did nothing. Xiaojin repeated every word in his head twice. As for Jin Kai, I tilted my chin toward the railroad tracks. During the fight, he was hit in the head by an energy shard from the demon ape. You saw it happen with your own eyes. Xiaojin stared at me for 3 seconds. Then he nodded, so fast his neck was practically at risk of breaking. Don't overdo it. Stand up. It's normal for you to stutter in your current state. Overacting will blow your cover. Ding. Extreme fear and submission from Xiaojin detected. Shock points plus 35. Even a mosquito leg is still meat, right? I turned around and glanced in Leng Qingshui's direction. She was leaning against the remains of the furnace. I walked over to her. From the wreckage of the collapsed equipment nearby, I dug out a relatively clean steel plate, made a simple platform, then wrung a handful of water out of thin air. Pure water completely filtered of all impurities. I held the water up to Leng Qingshui and said, "Have some." Leng Qingshui stared at the floating water ball, hovering right above my palm. She hesitated for a split second, lowered her head and took a sip. The second it went down her throat, a cool, refreshing sensation spread from her esophagus to her lungs. The stabbing pain from her injured ribs dropped by around 30%. Leng Qingshui lifted her eyes slightly. "This water has healing properties." "I'm not sure either. Be honest with me. You just got this superpower, right? You didn't finish reading the instructions." Leng Qingshui stared at my face for 3 seconds. This face looked really young, with the features of a 17-year-old. His facial features still had that boyish edge to them, as clean as my spotless school uniform. It felt almost unreal. "Your name is Zhang Chen, right?" Leng Qingshui asked. "Yep, earlier when you splashed water at the wolf's eye. You did that on purpose to let me see, didn't you?" I didn't deny it. Why, I needed someone to be surprised. That answer was way too short, but it carried so much weight that Leng Qingshui went silent for a few seconds. The sound of propellers came from the distance. 6 military transport helicopters came in low from the northeast. The white light from their searchlights swept across the ruins of the abandoned steel mill. The cabin doors opened. Military special ops members in black tactical gear rappelled down the ropes to the ground. The medical team got here first. 2 military doctors ran over to Leng Qingshui's side. They opened the first aid kit smoothly, like it was second nature. Another team ran towards Jin Kai. He was huddled next to the railroad tracks, his eyes unfocused. The doctor checked his injured hand, then shined a flashlight in his pupils, turned around and gestured to the captain. "Psychological trauma. Needs to be evacuated first." The only surviving underling was dragged out from behind the furnace. He'd been curled up in a tight ball for so long. His limbs were completely stiff. The remains of the 3 other underlings were packed in black bags. The on-site commander was a colonel. He walked towards me. I was sitting on the simple steel platform I'd made earlier, flipping a coin between my fingers. The 12 armored rhinos had, at some point, spontaneously formed a semicircle. With me in the center, it wasn't an encirclement. It looked more like they were guarding me. The colonel stopped 3 meters away. All 12 rhinos turned to look at him at the same time. 24 tiny red eyes all fixed on him at once. The colonel swallowed hard. "Classmate Jiang Chen. I'm Chen Yuan from the Eastern Suburbs branch. General Yue sent me to pick you up." "Where are you taking me?" "To the branch office." Chen Yuan added quickly, "It's not an interrogation. General Yue said he wants to invite you for tea." I stared at him for 2 seconds. "Can I bring these rhinos with me?" Chen Yuan glanced back at the 12 3-ton armored rhinos. "I need to ask for instructions first." The number on the panel flickered quietly. I stuffed the coin back into my pocket and stood up from the steel platform. I sat inside the transport helicopter, leaned against the cabin wall and started acting. I hid all my superpower fluctuations, hunching my shoulders slightly, tapping the back of my left hand with my right index finger rhythmically. I looked like an F-class student who'd had a superpower outburst from extreme fear. Colonel Chen Yuan, sitting across from me, noticed my state and didn't try to strike up a conversation. 14 minutes later, the helicopter landed. When I got off the plane, I held onto the doorframe and walked a little unsteadily on purpose. "Someone's waiting for you on the tarmac." A female lieutenant colonel introduced herself as Shang and led me to meet General Yue. The place we went to wasn't an interrogation room. It was a very ordinary tea room. Ye Zhenshan was sitting at the other end of the table. He was thinner and older than you'd expect a major general to be, and very unassuming, wearing a plain gray uniform with no rank insignia. He pointed to the chair across from him and said, "Sit." I sat down. He poured me a cup of tea, pushed it over, and I picked it up and took a sip. Good tea. Brought it from my hometown. Ye Zhenshan held his own cup, his gaze looking at you through the tea steam. He was silent for about 10 seconds. "Scared out of your wits, huh?" He went for a very gentle opening line. My hands were trembling slightly. I put down the teacup. Tier 3 Lord. Forget about the students. Even the S-ranks present couldn't stop him. It's no easy feat to make it out alive. Lang Qingshui told me, "You unleashed a really strong power in a life or death situation." I'm not really sure about that. I kept my voice really low. I slowed down my speech. When the demon ape charged at me, my mind went completely blank. Then I felt like something inside my body had cracked open. I don't remember all the stuff that happened after that. Can you still use that power now? It's all gone, nothing left. There was just the right amount of confusion and loss in my voice. It feels like I used it all up. Yue Zhenshan stared at my hands for 3 seconds. Then he took a sip of tea. Take it easy. After an ability goes out of control, it's normal to have a dormant period afterward. I nodded. Both of us knew I was faking it, but neither of us called it out. When we finished our third cup of tea, there were 2 knocks on the door. Colonel Shang pushed the door and walked in. He looked a little odd. He walked to Yue Zhenshan's side. He bent down and whispered a few words to him. Yue Zhenshan's hand holding the teacup froze. It's confirmed. Before our backup arrived, exotic beast energy fragments were found in his core. They had already penetrated deep inside, and he lost all vital signs. Before backup arrived, Ye Zhenshan repeated the line. That means, it happened during the battle. Ye Zhenshan had watched the full combat recording. He recalled how when the demon ape was destroyed, energy fragments scattered all across the sky. That shower of golden light covered every inch of the core zone. Some energy fragments in the chaos embedded themselves in Jin Kai's vital head area. That's completely possible statistically speaking. Notify the family. Follow the standard funeral procedures. Yes, sir. Colonel Shang turned around and left. After the door closed, there were only 2 people left in the tea room again. Yue Zhenshan glanced at me. I was holding the teacup in both hands, my hands trembling slightly, staring at the tea inside the cup. I looked like I was still in shock and hadn't recovered yet. Yue Zhenshan didn't ask me anything. He refilled my teacup for me. 20 minutes later, I was sent to the infirmary. When I walked out of the tea room, I ran into someone at the corridor corner, Lang Qingshui. She had changed into a clean military hospital gown. Thick, supportive bandages were wrapped around her chest and back. Her face was deathly pale, but those ice blue eyes of hers were sharp as a tack. "Ma'am?" I stopped in my tracks. "Did your power come back?" "No, what power? Ma'am, I'm just an F-rank water splasher." That thing before was probably just a stress response from being scared. I can't even squeeze a single drop of water out of my fingers right now. Lang Qingshui scanned every single muscle line on my face. This face is very young. The expression on it is innocent and confused, with a hint of frightened nervousness. It looked extremely convincing. If she hadn't seen me with her own eyes, suppress a Tier 3 Lord with one hand, she would have bought it. Stress response. She mouthed these 4 words to herself. F-rank water splasher. Because you were scared. You conjured up an entire rain cloud. Because you were scared. You used tens of thousands of high-pressure water streams to blast a Tier 3 Peak Lord into tiny specks of light. Lang Qingshui stared at me. I stared right back at her. We held eye contact for 5 seconds. Lang Qingshui spoke first. "I'll keep your story for now." She pulled a card out of the pocket of her hospital gown and handed it to me. It had gold edges, an 8-pointed star emblem printed on the front. This is my personal recommendation pass. With it, you can skip the academy selection process and enter the competition directly as an individual. I took the card and stuffed it in my pocket. "Thanks, ma'am." Lang Xingsu turned around and left. She stopped after 3 steps. She didn't turn around. "Jin Kaiyu is dead," I responded at a normal, steady pace. I heard General Yue mention it in the tea room just now. It was very sudden. Lang Qingsu stood there for 2 seconds, then kept walking. You lean against the wall and take the card. Out of your pocket again. Hold it up to the fluorescent light to check. The College League is a stage where you can meet more people, get more resources, and gain more shock value contributors. The panel is at the top right of your field of view, glowing quietly. Current total shock value balance, 13,740 points. The number is still rising slowly. Lin Family Manor, western suburbs of Jiangzhou. The red sandalwood long table in the middle of the yard is 300 years old. He was only half a palm away from the table at that moment. Jin Jianlin withdrew his right palm. Wood shavings were still swirling in the air. He was in his early 60s, with neatly combed silver hair. With one palm strike, the 3-inch thick red sandalwood tabletop split in half along the midline. His gaze fixed on what was in front of him. The official notification sent by the military. It was printed in black on white paper. To put it plainly, his son was dead. Cause of death. During the battle, he was hit by a Tier 3 Lord-class exotic beast. Energy shard right on his vital spot. He died instantly. There were on-site photos in the attachment. The inspection report was signed by the military's first-class appraiser. Jin Jianlin's gaze lingered on Jiang Chen. For a full 5 seconds, frank ability, Water Bloom. During this assessment, his ability went into stress-induced rampage and briefly burst out with power beyond his rank and helped repel the exotic beast. Second brother. In the shadow on the left side of the hall, a middle-aged man stepped half a step forward. Jin Wanting, head of the Lin family's second branch, leader of the Dark Division. You came up with that plan. Jin Jianlin didn't phrase it as a question. Jin Yuanting's Adam's apple bobbed once. There was only one possibility. Some details in the military notification made his elder brother suspicious. That letter telling Jin Kai to destroy Fen Yue. Did Jin Kai actually burn it or not? He had no idea. Because Jin Kai was dead, Jin Yuanting adjusted his breathing. Elder brother? Jin Kai is my nephew. I care more about him than anyone else. Shut up. Jin Jianlin didn't even look at him and turned his gaze to the doorframe on the right side of the hall. A young man was leaning against the doorframe. 22 years old, from Baishan, a 3-foot-long sword hung at his waist. Jin Jianfeng, the top genius of the Jin family's current generation. Rank ability. Gengjin Swordchi, mid-tier 3. Father. About Jin Kai's death. The military's explanation holds up. But the key point isn't the cause of death. The key point is the person who survived. Jiang Chen from the F-rank bait squad. He was supposed to be the first one to die, but all the combat personnel from the same batch were wiped out. He came back alive and kicking on a helicopter. Something's fishy about this whole thing if you think about it. Jin Jianlin sat back in his chair, looking at his eldest son across the broken table. You mean the College League next Wednesday? Jin Jianfeng tapped his sword sheath. All the awakened people in Jiangzhou, and students will be gathered there. If Jiang Chen signs up, then you can just get on the ring. Within the scope allowed by the rules. Ask him a few questions for your brother. Jin Jianfeng smiled. Ask what? A mere F-rank nobody. Once he steps on the ring, I can take him out with one move. I won't even have time to ask him anything. Then use one move. Jin Jianlin's tone returned to calm. But make sure you get that coin. Jin Yuanting tensed up next to him. Jin Jianlin glanced at him. Second brother. Do you think I really know nothing about the secret stuff you and Jin Kai did? Jin Yuanting's back was soaked with cold sweat. You wanted to steal it for yourself. Jin Kai got involved with you too. You failed the mission, and he lost his life for it. This matter ends here. Jin Jianlin fished the notification paper from under the broken table. The coin matter is left to Jianfeng to handle. Do it the proper way. Tell your Dark Division to stand down. Jin Yuanting didn't say a word. Jin Jianfeng rehung his sword back at his waist and walked out of the hall. He walked through the corridor and stepped onto the stone steps. The night wind blew in from the mountain col, blowing the hem of his white robe. He stopped and looked down at his sword. A weak F-rank loser. What ability stress rampage? That excuse can fool ordinary people. There's no way he could answer the military's interrogation clearly after a rampage. Cooperate with the inspection. Recount the whole thing logically and consistently. No one this sharp just had a manic outburst. It's an act. He drew his sword 3 inches out, then pushed it back in. The sharp clink of metal carried far in the night wind.
See you at the tournament.
His voice was colder than the night wind. I went back to Jiangzhou No. 1 High School on Monday. The school had 2 new additions since I left. Wreaths at the gate and rumors about me.
Did you hear?
Xiao Chen beat a level 3 exotic beast during the assessment. No way, you're kidding. He's class F, total dead weight. Beat? That's impossible. But he actually survived. 3 out of 4 Class B fighters died. He's just Class F, and he's perfectly fine. Just dumb luck, duh. I heard this non-stop walking across the playground. My system panel tracked the numbers. Shock points from each person spreading the rumor. Ranged from 1 to 3 points each. I ignored it all. Walked into the admin building, went up to the 3rd floor. Pushed open the academic affairs office door. There was a meeting going on inside. Behind the big desk at the far end was Wang Yuguang, principal of Jiangzhou No. 1 High School. I took 2 steps forward. Slapped the registration form I was holding on to. The nearest office desk. Principal? University League registration form. Please stamp it for me. Wang Yuguang stood up from behind the big desk. He looked way more intimidating standing up. He walked over and picked up the registration form. Glanced through it from top to bottom. Class F deadweight, you'll just be bait. He put the form back toward the desk, but it was right above the wastebasket next to it. Jiang Chen, you know what the University League means to the school. A nobody like you, Class F, signing up. You'll lose and embarrass us. It's worse if you get hurt. Who's going to pay your medical bills? That makes sense, logically. But I'm not listening. After he finished, I pulled out from my school uniform inner pocket the card Leng Qingshui gave me. It had a gilded 8-pointed star emblem. Major Leng Qingshui's personal recommendation pass. This lets you skip the school selection process and compete as an individual. Getting a stamp doesn't actually affect the registration process, but going through the school's formalities is better for No. 1 High's reputation. Wang Yuguang reached out to take the card. The second his fingertip touched the card surface, his tiny eyes widened 0.5 millimeter in shock. A Class S woman, writing a recommendation for a Class F student. No matter how you look at it. There's someone backing him he can't afford to mess with. He made a very Wang Yuguang-style decision, handed the card back to me, picked up the registration form, pulled the official stamp out of the drawer, thumped the stamp down on the form. Here, I'll submit it for you. Wang Yuguang had a perfectly polite smile on his face. Wish you good results in the competition. That was a quick 180. I put the card away. Nodded. Thanks, Principal. Turned around and left. The door shut behind me. My system panel popped up a notification in the hallway. Detected Wang Yuguang's emotion of humiliating compromise. Shock points plus 45. Detected 6 people present in the office, with mixed emotions. Total shock points plus earned 83. Current shock points balance, 101.28. When I walked out of the admin building, I ran into a stranger at the door, but my system panel recognized him. Shock perception activated. Distance, 12 meters. Target, Jin Jianfeng. Ability level, Class S. Emotional state. Calm assessing. A young man in a white shirt stood below the steps. A sword hung at his waist. Our eyes met for a second. Jin Jianfeng's gaze moved from my face to the registration form in my hand, then moved back to my face. He said something. Jiang Chen, don't get eliminated too early at the league. Then he left. He took long strides. I watched his back as he left. My system panel stayed quiet. Jin Jianfeng's emotion just now was calm assessment. No contempt, no anger, 0 contribution points. Real strong people don't feel anything when they see a single ant. They only notice what's under their feet. When they're about to strike, I folded the receipt and stuffed it in my pants pocket. I want to make this guy experience some really intense mood swings. 11 p.m., Jiangzhou Waste Disposal Station. I made a temporary key out of a thin water stream and picked the lock. What I'm looking for doesn't need to be fancy at all. It doesn't even have to be a weapon. The system's description of the all-item ascension function is super clear. It evolves any item at its core level. Quality depends on input amount and the target's base potential. In the corner at the very bottom of the metal section, my hand touched a piece of ice-cold metal, 1.6 meters long, 3 centimeters in diameter. Solid, I pulled it out. The rod was heavily rusted. One end had screw threads. The other end was welded to a flat, shovel-shaped structure. Sewer drain snake. I hefted it a little. Roughly 3.2 kilograms. Center of gravity is 3 inches toward the back. I swung it once. Feels pretty good. I slung the drain snake over my shoulder and kept looking around. I dug out one from the e-waste section. Discus-sized alloy disc I picked up from the construction debris section. A fist-sized piece of black stone. I laid the 3 items on the ground in a row. I squatted down and laid the drain snake horizontally in front of me. Let's test the waters first. Confirm consumption of shock points to ascend item. Vajra drain snake scrap. Base potential rating D. Low base potential rating means that for the same amount of input, the upper output limit is also low, But I don't need a top-tier item. What I need is a weapon that even a C-class awakened can use without raising any suspicion. Too good, and it draws too much attention. Just right is safe. Input: 2,000 points. The numbers on the panel flickered, dropped from 14,210 to 12,210. The change started at both ends of the drain snake. The rust layer didn't flake off. The rust seeped from the outer layer into the inner layer and was absorbed and broken down by some force. The wormhole-like dents on the rod's surface were being filled in. Its color changed from rust red to a cool-toned bluish-black. 3 seconds later, it was done. On the ground lay a 1.6-meter, long bluish-black metal rod. Smooth surface. Matte finish. The threads on one end were gone. The shovel head, welded on the other end, had turned into a 3-pronged structure. Trident Ascension complete. Item name: Tide Trident. Quality grade C+. Material: Abyssal Vajra. Purity: 91%. Trait 1. Water Affinity. Hardness is 200% higher than weapons of the same grade. Regular B-class weapons can't damage it at all. A C+ weapon with B-class or higher defense hardness. That means in the tournament, when fighting against B-class or even A-class contestants, they'll hit my weapon and find they can't cut through it. It's as unnoticeable as a common river carp, but hides a deadly trick up its sleeve. I picked up the Tide Trident and swung it twice. The sound of it cutting through the air had a low-frequency resonance. Sounded like the tail end of a water jet cut. System. Here, check the list of ascendable skills. A list popped up on the panel. 1. Water Splash F-class. Ascension cost, 500 points. 2. Wrath of the SeaGod, Waterline Cut. SSS plus subskill. Ascension cost, 8,000 points. 3. Wrath of the SeaGod, Precipitation Device Control. Ascension cost, 10,000 points. Wrath of the SeaGod, Aquatic Beast Signal. SSS plus subskill. Ascension cost, 6,000 points. Ascending SSS plus subskills cost several times more than ascending items. I currently have 12,310 usable points, only enough to ascend one main skill, Waterline Cut. This is currently the most powerful single target attack skill you have mastered. The demon ape was turned to dust by this move. Ascend Waterline Cut, consume 8,000 points. This time the change didn't happen externally. It happened inside my body. My awakening core jolted hard. The energy circuits were being rearranged. The process lasted around 7 seconds. Then everything went back to calm. Ascension complete. Skill name: Wrath of the SeaGod. Waterline Cut. Wrath of the SeaGod. 10,000 blades return. Level SSS plus already ascended. Maximum number of waterlines raised from 10,000 to 50,000. Maximum waterline pressure 4,200 atmospheres. Raised to 12,000 atmospheres. New trait: Return to Nest. Waterlines don't dissipate after cutting. They automatically return to surround the user. Forms a defense barrier. Offense and defense rolled into one. Energy efficiency gets a big boost. For the same power output, energy consumption drops by 40%. Energy consumption drops by 40%. That means at full power output, my body could only last 2 minutes before. Now it can hold on for 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And this new homing feature means every time I throw a punch, I get an extra layer of shield on me. As the fight goes on, my defense gets thicker and thicker. I plant the tide fork on the ground. I lean against the metal shelf and glance down at my palm. Balance, 4,210. That's not a lot left. Gotta spend it wisely. The tournament kicks off next Wednesday. Wednesday at Zhangzhou Stadium. I take the contestant entrance. I scan the card Leng Qingshui gave me to get in. As the turnstile reads the card, the registration staff nearby all glance over at me. Jiangchen, registered ability level F. The recommendation letter is the card you just scanned. Issued by Leng Qingshui. The staff runs an internal search and taps the system screen a few times. The pop-up message makes his face twitch in surprise. Come on in. I walk into contestant waiting room C17. I pull the tide fork out of the canvas bag on my back and lean it against the corner. The trident's dark teal pole looks unassuming under the lights. Total shock point balance, 4,580. Up over 300 in the past 5 days. The group chat buzz keeps spreading, but the growth rate is slowing down. Need a new trigger to boost it. Opening ceremony starts at 1 p.m. When I walk out of the tunnel, the giant screen is rotating contestant profiles. When it cuts to my info, the crowd's cheers drop off really noticeably. Contestant number 28 Jiangchen, from Jiangzhou No. 1 High School. Registered ability level F. Ability name, Splash. There are 28,000 people in the venue. At least 25,000 of them saw that F grade. West walk-in spectator section. A super loud bald guy stands up and yells, F grade. An F grade can even compete. Who's this Nepo baby? That line sets everything off. The crowd around immediately erupts. Is this a mistake? Can't F grades only spit water or something? Rigged. Totally rigged. The pop-up panel, in my view, is spamming numbers like crazy. Shock points +3. Shock points +2. Shock points +5. Over 20 notifications pop up in 10 seconds. Each one is a small amount, but there's a ton of them. I keep my head down and walk into the contestant lineup and stand in my spot. I don't twitch my mouth at all. But the balance in the bottom right of the panel jumps from 4,580 to 4,017. Over 200 points in a minute, that's my entry fee payout. Once the opening ceremony wraps up, the draw begins. Contestant numbers start rolling on the giant screen. Group 37 contestants. Nawaerishi Jiang Chen, F grade water morph. Contestant number B078. Shatishan, B grade iron arm enhancement. The crowd has two very different reactions. That's a free win right there. You call this a random draw. F grade versus B grade. Did you guys do this on purpose? In the VIP section, Jin Jianfeng stares at the matchups on screen. He taps his scabbard twice with his finger. Shatishan, he says to the manager next to him. The manager nods. The folks from the sports academy are straightforward. They don't hold back when they fight. Which group am I in? Group 51. Your opponent is a C grade from Yunshan Academy. Doesn't matter. He looks away from the screen, towards the contestant lineup at the figure in the gray-blue school uniform. If Shutishan wins, I'll face him in the next round. The manager unfolds the knockout bracket. Group 37 and 51 meet in the second round. Jin Jianfeng grunts in acknowledgement. He doesn't mention what to do if Shutishan loses, because just like almost everyone else there, he doesn't take that possibility seriously. F grade versus B grade. There's no if here. The preliminary matches go in group order. I'm in group 37. There are 36 matches before mine. That's about 2.5 hours. I grab a chair in the contestant rest area and sit down. I laid the tied trident horizontally across my lap. I closed my eyes and pretended to nap. Cheers from outside rolled in wave after wave. Over 2 hours later, contestants of group 37, please come to the stage. When I walked up to the ring with the tied trident in hand, Shi Tishan was already warming up on the opposite side. Both of his arms had already entered. The pre-activation state of iron arm enhancement. A dull gray metallic sheen covered his skin. The size difference was jaw-dropping. He is 1.92 meters tall and weighs 220 jin. I'm 1.75 meters and 130 jin. I was wearing a gray-blue school uniform, holding a trident half a head shorter than me. 3 seconds! He'll be done in 3 seconds! Someone yelled teasingly from the audience. The judging panel read out the rules as routine. Shutishan banged his fists together. The clashing of his iron arms made a dull thud. Kid, your name is Jiang Chen, right? Yep, I'm a straight shooter. So I'll get this out first. I won't go easy on you once we are on the ring. But I will control my strength. Worst case, you will get some muscle and bone injuries. You'll be fine after 2 months of rest. Don't be scared. Senior. Are you talking about your injuries or mine? Shi Tishan's face went blank for a brief moment. Then he laughed. Nice guts. You're the first F rank that dares talk back to me. Fine. If you can survive one punch from me later, I, Shatishan, will treat you to a meal. I nodded. Keep that in mind, I eat a lot. Before the head referee stepped back, I spoke up. My voice was not loud, but the sound system was very sensitive. Let me clarify something. The noise in the arena dropped by half. My registered rank is F-class. My ability is water splash. That information is correct. But after the actual combat test a month ago, my ability mutated. The military already has it on record. The school just hasn't updated their information yet. I pointed the tip of the tied trident down, stabbing it into the ring floor. My current actual rank is C-class. My ability is now called water manipulation. There was 1 second of dead silence. Then the audience erupted. C-class? He jumped from F to C. Can ability mutations jump that many ranks? Is that a joke? There is no precedent for this in academia. C-class water manipulation. If that is true, it is way stronger than F-class. But compared to Shi Tieshan's B-class iron arm, it is still 1 rank lower. Won't change the result. Jin Jianfeng said nothing. He was not analyzing the rank numbers. He was analyzing why I chose to reveal this information at this exact moment. If someone was truly only C-class, facing B-class Shitiation, the best strategy is to fight without revealing anything. Exposing your trump card before the match is totally pointless. Unless what he revealed is not his trump card. It is just his second layer of disguise. Group 37 match start. When Shitishan took his first step, the ring shook a little. His 220 Jin body was wrapped in the gray sheen of iron arm enhancement. The sense of oppression from his charge was no less than that of a small truck, 12 meters apart. He covered that distance in 0.8 seconds. His right fist started charging up when it was 2 meters away from my chest. The metallic sheen on his arm went from dull gray to bright silver. 2 meters, 1.5 meters, 1 meter. I lifted my right index finger. The moisture in the air was drawn out and condensed into shape in a split second. A water whip as thick as a thumb and about 4 meters long took only 0.3 seconds to form from scratch. Shitishan's fist was half a meter away from me. The water whip lashed out with no cracking sound. The sound came 0.1 seconds later than the lash. Because the water whip was faster than the speed of sound, it hit Shitishan right in the middle of his chest. Not the whole body, just the chest. Shitishan's forward momentum was reversed. The second the whip made contact, his 220 Jin body changed direction right where he stood, flying backward, extremely fast, even faster than when he charged at me. The protective barrier at the edge of the ring lit up, catching him like a giant elastic net. Shitishan slid down the barrier with his back against it. Dropping to his knees, he braced both hands on the ring floor, his mouth hanging open, like a fish pulled out of water. 1, 2, 3, Shitishan gritted his teeth, lifting his right knee off the ground. He was about to stand up, but before his knee was fully straightened, a tiny thing appeared right in front of his eyes. A drop of water hovered between his eyebrows and stayed still 3 centimeters away. Shitishan froze mid-movement. He stared at that water drop. Then he heard me say something. "Brother, sir, that meal you promised." I picked the restaurant. Shitishan stared at the water drop for 1 second. Then he fell straight backward. The back of his head hit the floor, making a dull thud. He didn't pass out. He lay down on purpose. If a fighter stays down for over 5 seconds, 1-2 fighter number 1 Jiang Chen wins. The referee raised his flag. The entire arena went dead silent. This 28,000-seat stadium was so quiet at that moment that you could hear wind blowing through the gap in the dome. From when Shitishan started running to when he flew backward, it only took 1.8 seconds total. The silence lasted 3 seconds. Then the noise came back. It wasn't cheering. It was the kind of racket you get when you hit play, right after forcefully pressing pause. The volume was twice as loud as before. He said he's C-class. C-class fighting B-class. Got sent flying with 1 whip strike. That water whip's speed was off. It was supersonic, right? The panel was popping like crazy in my field of view. Numbers were flooding the screen. It jumped from 4,017 to the current number in 3 seconds. Total shock points balance, 7,841. That's almost 3,000 points, all from 1 move, and it's still going up. I pulled my index finger back, bent down to pick up the Hai Chow fork. When I walked off the ring, I passed Shitishan, who was still on the ground. He was lying flat on his back. "Senior brother." Shitishan rolled his eyes to look at me. "You got off the ring early." "I could have stood up, you know." Shitishan went quiet for 2 seconds. "No shit." His voice was still as loud as ever. "That water drop of yours was hovering right between my eyebrows." "I'm not an idiot." "Standing up to take a second hit is way more trouble than just lying down." He grinned. "But I still gotta show up for that meal. A promise is a promise." "You pick the restaurant?" I slung the Hai Chow fork over my shoulder and walked back to the fighter area. When I passed the aisle under the VIP section, I didn't look up. Target, Jin Jianfeng. Emotional fluctuation triggered. Shock points +3. 3 points went from 0 to 3. Jin Jianfeng had an emotional reaction, even if it's only at the interested level. The ant has gotten onto his radar. The night of the match. Of the top 10 trending spots on Jiangzhou's online platforms, 6 were related to the league. 3 were related to me. Class fighter beats B class with 1 move. What level is Splash Boy Jiangchen really? The most viewed post was from the Jiangzhou Awakeners forum. Poster ID, Abyss Onlooker. Title, Objective Analysis of the True Upper Limit of Jiangchen's C-Class Water Manipulation in his debut fight. Core Argument. The strength Jiang Chen showed can totally be explained as between C plus and B class. It's not that Jongchun is that strong, it's that Shu Tishan's defense had an obvious blind spot. The analysis was pretty professional. I sat on my dorm bed scrolling through my phone. The tone of the post's comments section started to shift. Waves of comments with extremely similar formatting and wording flooded in a short time. It's just C-class water manipulation. Shu Tishan just underestimated him. This line appeared 17 times. If he meets a real A-class genius, this guy will definitely show his true colors. Appeared 13 times. Don't forget he came from the decoy class. How could he win in a fair fight? Shu Taishan threw the fight, appeared 9 times. That's industrial-level bot spam. I put down my phone and smiled. The Jin family didn't spend that much on this, but the timing was perfect. They dumped all the negative press. During the peak popularity window after the first match, the goal is to control the narrative. They are taking the explosive headline of F-class beats B-class with one move. That's way too sensational, and dragging it down to the safe range of C-class wins by a narrow margin against an overconfident B-class opponent. Why would they do this? To lower the public's expectations of me. The lower the expectations, the smaller the contrast when I mess up later. Smaller contrast means the shock points I earn will shrink too. Current total balance, 16,440 points. It nearly quadrupled in one day. I'd be letting the Jin family's investment go to waste if I don't take action. I picked up my phone again, opened a personal account. I'd registered it over half a year ago. Never posted anything on it. Totally clean account with 0 followers. Its username is Jiangdong Folks. I posted a 30-second short video. The content was super rough. My phone's front camera was pointing at my face. The dorm's incandescent light was right above my head. The lighting was dead pale. I said a few words to the camera. Hi everyone, I'm Jongchun. We won the first match of the league today. Senior Shu Tishan. People online say I'm only C grade. Senior, she only lost because he took me lightly. That makes sense. I nodded my head. Senior Shu did charge straight at me. These analyses are correct, but I want to respond to one question. Some people asked me what I'd do if I run into A grade or S grade players. I looked down at my right hand and held my index finger up to the camera. I have no idea. I was still an F grade water splash a month ago. Now I mutated into a C grade water controller. How far this ability can take me? I don't know that either. Finally, I tilted my head a little, just a tiny angle. But if my opponent for the second round is watching this video right now, yeah, I'm talking about you. Better watch your back later, okay? The video ended here. I posted this video out. 3 hours later, it hit 1.42 million views. Algorithms don't understand human emotions, but they do understand data. The vibe in the comment section was totally different from the forum. The top liked comments were like these. I don't know why. When this guy said he had no idea, I somehow felt he knows everything. Did anyone notice that final look he gave? I replayed it 3 times. I can't describe what it feels like. It's just really calm. Calm to the point of being abnormal. Those paid trolls saying he's only C grade. Can you guys switch up your templates for once? A dozen identical lines, that's just embarrassing. The trolls' comments got drowned out. I lay on my dorm bed staring at the ceiling, with my phone tossed aside. The panel was at the top right of my field of view. Total balance, 19,870 points. This number had gone up by over 3,400 in the past 3 hours. 1.4 million views. Even if only 1/10 of the viewers generated valid emotions, the number was still rising. The second round matchup list will be released tomorrow. If I win 2 matches in a row, I'll face Jin Jianfeng in the 3rd round. The time gap between the 2 matches is 3 days. What can I do in 3 days? First, upgrade the title trident from C+ to the next rank. Second, I closed my eyes. The awakening core inside me was operating quietly. Relying on only one move to win isn't enough. I need a second trump card. That skill upgrade list on the panel was still there. Wrath of the 4 SeaGods, Water Beast. Taming SSS plus grade, skill upgrade costs 6,000 points. The 12 armored rhinos are still waiting at the military district. The way the quarterfinal rules were announced was super dramatic. On the morning of the day after all preliminary matches ended, the chief referee came on stage to read them out in person. There was a wax seal on the envelope. I noticed one small detail. The wax pattern wasn't continuous. It looked like it was opened after being sealed, then resealed again. After research and decision by the organizing committee, the quarterfinal stage uses the 100-player survival battle mode. The 64 contestants who advanced from the preliminaries will be split into 2 groups. 32 people in Group A, 32 people in Group B. Each group will be dropped into the simulated ecological environment. Time limit 2 hours. Each contestant starts with 3 survival badges. If you get knocked out or admit defeat voluntarily, you have to give 1 badge to the person who beat you. When the 2 hours are up, the top 16 contestants in each group by badge count advance. The rule itself is fine. The problem is the grouping. The screen started scrolling the name list. Names of Group A popped up one by one. In this 32-person group, 31 people are related to the Jin family. The only one left is me. People in the contestant area started whispering. How come this group is all people from the Jin family? Wait a second. Look at the 7th name in that group, Bai Zixun. Isn't that the nephew of Chief Referee Bai? In the VIP area, Jin Jianfeng was satisfied with this grouping result. But this satisfaction was way too plain. So plain that it didn't even give me any shock points, because he already expected this result. Current total shock point balance, 150 points. I looked down at the accessory of the title trident. Then I smiled. I just thought something was really funny. 30 people ganging up on one person. The Jin family actually thought that too few people would look bad, so they voluntarily removed the B-grade players. The entrance to the simulated ecological field is a metal passage 3 meters in diameter. It splits into 32 independent transmission lanes at the end. They are supposed to be random in theory, but I noticed that on the inner wall of my lane, the energy guide rails had their frequency manually adjusted. That means the drop coordinates are not random. The organizing committee already fixed your landing spot, roughly in the center of the field, a position that's easy to surround. You step into the passage, transmission activates. The lighting changes. I'm standing in a clearing in the woods. The clearing is about 30 meters across, surrounded by tall projected broadleaf trees. Sure enough, I'm right in the central area of the field. Group A survival match countdown 3, 2, 1. Start. I did something completely against the usual strategies that everyone uses. I stabbed my Haichao fork into the dirt in the middle of the clearing. Then I took off my school uniform jacket. I pulled a sealed bag out of my pants pocket. It had 3 marinated beef jerky pieces inside. I wrapped the jerky in aluminum foil and started picking up dead branches around the clearing. I used water to start the fire. To be more precise, I made water molecules in the air collide at high speed to concentrate the frictional heat at one point. 30 seconds later, a plume of thick smoke rose from the forest clearing. Above the 20,000 square meter simulated ecological field, it stretched into a vertical grayish-white smoke column, visible to everyone in the entire field. The reaction from the audience stands on the ground was immediate. A commotion broke out. What is he doing? Making a fire! He's making a fire! The match just started. 31 people are coming to siege him, and he's in the central clearing grilling meat. The holographic screen cut to a close-up of me. In the shot, I was squatting next to the fire, holding the foil-wrapped beef jerky over the flame, looking really focused. The firelight lit up my face. My expression said I was just grilling meat. The commentary booth went crazy. Hello, everyone. Am I seeing this right? Contestant Baiyin Jiangchen, in the first minute after the survival match started, he chose to start a fire in the center of the field. Lao Zhang, what's your take? Is he using some high-end tactic that I don't know about? I can't analyze this. I've been in this business for 12 years. First time I've ever seen someone grill meat in a league survival match. Numbers started popping up on my view panel. Popping up really fast, but I didn't have time to look at the panel. I was listening for sounds. Sounds from the forest were coming from 4 directions. Closing in on me, the closest group is northeast of me. 20 meters away, 3 people. 5 people coming from the southwest, moving fast. They're eager to get the first kill. 7 people from the north, moving the most cautiously. Probably the main attack team. There are also scattered footsteps, coming from other directions. 26 people are heading this way. I flipped the foil packets over. The beef jerky isn't done yet. Then I looked up and said something to the trees around the clearing. All right, stop hiding. The footsteps in the forest stopped. Grab some dry firewood on your way over, yeah? Ah! The humidity here's too low, the fire's not burning strong. 3 seconds of dead silence. Then from the bushes in the southwest direction came an angry voice. What the hell is going on? 5 people rushed out from that direction. The one leading was a D-class fire ability user. Flames were already wrapping around his hands. Jiang Chen, stop pretending. That fire user's voice was even more heated than his flames. He didn't finish his sentence. Because he smelled the beef jerky. The wind was blowing right from my side to theirs. Soy sauce, black pepper, and a hint of garlic flavor. The flames on the fire user's hands shrank a little. He didn't do it on purpose. He just got distracted. I squatted next to the fire, used a stick to pick out a fully cooked beef jerky from the foil. I blew on it and took a bite. Chewed twice, not bad. A little too salty. I took the other 2 packets off the fire. The 5 of them looked at each other. Is he inviting us to eat meat? Don't fall for it, it's psychological warfare. But it smells so good. In the VIP box, the wine glass in Jin Jianfeng's hand didn't shake. For the first time, he stared at the figure on the screen that was next to the fire chewing beef jerky. The steward next to him said in a low voice, "Young master, should we tell them to take action right now?" Jin Jianfeng didn't answer. He was stuck on one question. What the hell am I doing? When you're about to get ambushed by over 30 people, you choose to reveal your location on purpose, to draw all enemies to gather together. There are only 2 explanations for this move. Either he's an idiot, or he's confident he can take on all 30 people at once. Jin Jianfeng's right finger paused on the scabbard for a second. Or he wants everyone to gather in one spot. So he only has to fight once. The first wave of attacks came right when I swallowed my 3rd bite of beef jerky. The 5 guys from the southwest made the first move. A fireball the size of a bowl shot straight at me from 30 meters away. At the same time, the 3-man team from the northeast arrived. A row of knee-high earth spikes jutted out from under the floor, moving towards the center of the open area. The plant vines from the north 7-man team also stretched over from the tree canopy. Fireball, earth spikes, vines, 2 metal flying blades. That's 5 types of attacks. I got up really fast, but I didn't dodge. I held the half-eaten beef jerky between my teeth. I grabbed the school uniform jacket laid on the ground with both hands. I stuffed the remaining 2 packs of foil-sealed beef jerky into the jacket, then tossed it behind a dead tree stump 5 meters away. Then I pulled out the tide fork. The fireball was right there, less than 2 meters away from me. I lifted my right hand, not with my index finger. I used my palm, no water blade condensed. Within 30 meters above the open ground, all water molecules were controlled at once in 0.2 seconds and spread out into a transparent water film only 0.3 millimeters thick. The fireball hit the water film. It didn't explode. The water film vaporized instantly on the hot contact surface. The resulting expansion force changed the fireball's flight path. The fireball flew right past my left shoulder and crashed into the tree stump behind me. The earth spikes reached my feet. I took a slow step to the left. To avoid the first row of earth spikes, I lowered my body by 30 centimeters. The second row of spikes brushed past the top of my head. I pulled my right foot back half a step. The third row of spikes broke through the ground just 2 centimeters in front of my toes. I don't rely on my eyes for precise movement. I rely on the soles of my feet. There's one application of water-type abilities that most people completely ignore. It can generate a real-time heat map of all moving objects under the floor. I didn't hesitate once with my steps. Every step landed right in the safe gap between the earth spikes. The plant vines fell down from above my head. I swung the tide fork in an arc. The fork tip didn't cut through the vine. It hooked the vine with its 3-pronged structure, pulled it 1 meter outward, and applied torque perpendicular to its growth direction. It's like wringing a towel. Its fiber structure was destroyed. The vine snapped right on the spot. From the first fireball landing to the vine snapping, it only took 4 seconds total. I stayed right where I was. Total distance I moved was less than 2 meters. The beef jerky in my mouth was still there, didn't fall out. The whole place went quiet. The commentator's voice came back on, but his tone was super intense. He didn't even fight back. 3 completely different response methods. Switched between all of them in 4 seconds. This isn't the reaction speed a C rank should have. The system panel was spamming my field of view. Shock value plus 45. Shock value plus 22. Shock value plus 61. The big gains started rolling in, but I didn't have time to look at the numbers. Because the second wave was here, the 7-man team from the north charged out. 2 metal-type users in the front row acted as meat shields. 3 long-range attackers in the middle row. 2 support types in the back row. At the same time, the remaining 16 people gradually poured out from other directions. 28 people surrounded me from all directions. All 28 people attacked at the same time. Fireballs, wind blades, earth spikes, metal flying blades, vines, ice spikes. Attacks of at least 7 different ability types came at the center of the open area from all 360 degrees. The density was so high that the projection canopy's data rendering system had a short overload. The commentator was screaming so hard his voice cracked. 28 people firing all at once. Full coverage strike, Jiang Chen is right in the middle of His next word got stuck in his throat. Because I was gone. 28 attacks collided at the center of the open area. Boom! The psionic buffer alloy floor was torn open. A 6-meter-wide cloud of smoke and dust filled the air. There was no one in the center of the open area, only a burnt gray-blue school uniform jacket. I tossed that back from behind the tree stump a second before they attacked. It's a diversion. Someone in the audience screamed. Some people complained. Some people were laughing so hard they couldn't stand straight. The numbers on the system panel started rolling at a speed I had never seen before. Shock value plus 88. Shock value plus 77. Shock value plus 56. But I don't have time to check that. My voice came from midair, at a height of 7 to 8 meters. I stood on a solid crossbeam. That's part of the simulated EcoSite's dome frame. The Haichao fork was slung over my shoulder. I looked down at the 28 people in the pit. Firelight lit up my face from below. I said something, in a tone like I was commenting on a group assignment. Your coordination sucks. 28 people attacking one single target. 12 shots missed in total. The most off-target fireball flew 9 meters away. I looked at the D-class fire ability user. Go back and practice more. A fixed target at 30 meters. Your shot spread is over 2 meters. You'd even fail the first round of grenade throw at a sports meet. The whole audience made a weird, unidentifiable noise. It wasn't laughter nor yelling. It was the sound you make after someone shoves your head down to force you to watch. A full performance art show, then squeeze out a hoarse howl mixed with absurdity and adrenaline rush. The betting pool crashed 30 seconds ago. The bookmaker system is throwing errors. Inside the VIP box, Jin Jianfeng froze with his red wine glass halfway to his mouth. The wine in the glass didn't move at all. His steward spoke for the first time without waiting for his order. Young master, shut up. Jin Jianfeng stared at the screen, at the figure standing on the crossbeam. Jin Jianfeng's emotional fluctuation detected type, scrutiny, vigilance. Intensity, medium to high. It rose from 3 to 18. The ant has caught the tiger's attention. My gaze swept across the 28 people, and finally landed on the one standing at the back. With both hands in his pockets, the C-class contestant who never made a move the whole time, that guy was looking at me too. His expression was completely flat. We had a height difference of 7 to 8 meters. We stared at each other for about 1 second. I took the Haichao fork off my shoulder, with the tip pointing down, and rested it on the metal surface of the crossbeam. The first round of this survival battle is over. 28 people fired together, 0 hits. I didn't even fight back, and finished what I was eating. But only 4 minutes have passed since the match started. I still have 2 packs of beef jerky left. The broadcast came on. It wasn't the chief referee announcing the result. An emergency communication was patched through instead. It was a middle-aged man's order spoken in a low voice, carrying undeniable authority. It transmitted through all the venue speakers, and echoed across the entire dome. Group 37 survival battle is suspended immediately. Contestant number Win Jiangchen, please report to the main control room right now. I patted the crumbs off my hands and slung the Haichao fork back over my shoulder. When I passed the VIP area, I looked up for the first time and directly met Jin Jianfeng's hawk-like eyes. His red wine glass had been crushed in his hand at some point. Dark red wine dripped down between his fingers. It wasn't extreme fear nor anger. It was a higher level of instinctive wariness you feel when a wild beast breaks into your territory. I smiled at him and said in a voice only the two of us could hear, "Your sword looks like it'll never get a chance to leave its sheath." Right after I finished speaking, a new notification popped up on the panel. Jin Jianfeng's emotional fluctuation detected extreme murderous intent. Shock value plus 500. I didn't look at him again and turned around to walk to the main control room. Murderous intent from an S-class genius. That's way more valuable than those dozens of nobodies outside combined. I pushed open the heavy door of the main control room. I thought I would meet Yue Jinshan or some higher-ranking general, but there was only one person in the room, an old man in a washed-out work uniform, who was wiping the display screen with a rag. The old man turned around. He looked completely unremarkable, but his eyes looked like they held 10,000 years of seawater. "Little guy, that coin of yours, the one your parents left you. Can I take a look at it?" I stopped in my tracks for the first time. My heartbeat was still steady at 62 beats per minute, but the superpower in my body started circulating on its own out of my control. I never reacted like this even when I faced the demon ape. I stared at the old man and stayed silent for a few seconds. Then I pulled out that rusty coin from my pants pocket. I flipped it between my fingers. Under the rust on the coin, That unearthly faint blue glow, under the old man's gaze, flickered brightly on its own for the first time. What happens after you look at it? The old man smiled. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at the closed door behind me, like you can see the entire world through it. After we take a look, maybe we can chat about what's beyond mythology.